The episode opens with the parents looking at Wim's dad, Fern's mom, Neil's mom, and KB's 2 moms, because Disney felt it was important enough to include all of that in a kid's show. More on that later. But as we continue through, we find out that the supervisor is the one in control of all of it. And I have a feeling Wim's dad knows more than he's letting on. Flip back to Borg with Jod and the kids, and they're escaping from prison using some of his quote-unquote force abilities. He predicts when people are walking through and does some other seemingly insignificant tricks that really start to raise suspicion about his ability as a Jedi. He breaks through a barrier, hot wires a fence, and they are off to their ship. But yet, wait, they're forgetting one thing. They're forgetting SM-33. Now, as much as Jod doesn't want to, he turns around and is willing to go back after convincing from the kids to go get this droid. Here we see a B-1 battle droid asking if they won, which is quite hilarious, but even more importantly, we get confirmation that Jod Nanawud was the captain from the opening credits, because once he's broken out of prison, he encounters someone who recognizes him and calls him Captain Silva.
Captain Silva, is that you?
Yes, that's exactly like Long John Silver. And to be honest, I'm kind of getting sick of all of these pirate goofy references. This doesn't feel like Star Wars to be referencing all these other source materials in this way, and it's getting a little old. Jod takes them to find his friend, who I thought was going to be an opportunity for reveal of Maz Kanata, the pirate queen, but instead we meet Kim, an owl-type creature, which gave major Avatar vibes as she's fluttering and flying around this space trying to find the right map. They pull up to the gate and are greeted by none other than the TT-8LY7 droids that we know too well from Jabba's palace. Here, these gatekeeper droids allow Kim to talk to, now we understand his third name of the show so far, Crimson Jack, yet again setting alarm bells off in the kids' heads as to what might actually be going on. Now, before they showed up with Kim, Jod had warned them that Kim might stab them in the back.
We go way back, but I don't trust her. Not 100%. In that she might stab us in the back.
Stab us?
Not literally. Does that make sense?
And I think this is a sweet scene that just reminds us of the innocence and the silliness of some of these kids. I like this kind of stuff. It reminds me that we're dealing with those who are truly lost, who don't know their way, who aren't connected and understand the world the way that we might understand the world. And it kind of keeps the innocence of the show and the playfulness of the show on point. Kim starts to ask all of these questions of the kids, trying to find information about AT-ATN. They narrow it down between nebulas and the logo on the backpack from the school that they were a part of, and they're given a disc or a card that supposedly has the coordinates to AT-ATN. But little did they know, Kim had betrayed them and called in New Republic X-Wings, fearing that these kids were in danger and clearly not trusting Crimson Jack, or Jod Nanawud, or Captain Silva, whatever his name is. As they hear the X-Wings coming inbound, KB has a moment with Kim where Kim encourages her to find out the truth. And KB is going to stand firm on this, because before they board the ship, they strike a deal with Jod that he's going to reveal the truth of what's really going on here before they get on the ship, and he's actually going to be the one who's serving them. They're going to be in charge. He's going to listen to them. And then he says this.
The truth is, I'm just like you, okay? I'm lost. I'm alone.
But you are a Jedi, right?
I never actually said that.
revealing all along what we kind of felt in our guts to be true, that Jod was no Jedi, and he was doing something far different to escape and to get these kids to trust him. Now, meanwhile, they strike this deal and they get on the ship and they fly off planet, but they can't yet jump to hyperspace. They have to get clear of this moon, and so the kids are made into a makeshift crew. Neil driving the plane, KB on the computer, and both Wim and Fern hopping into the gunner's seats and having some fun shooting at some X-Wings. Eventually, Jod hops back into the pilot's seat, hits the thrusters, and they jump into hyperspace, presumably to At-Aten. The episode then ends with Kim talking to the X-Wing pilots, who I thought was going to be Carson Teva from The Mandalorian, but unfortunately that wasn't the case, just some random dude. And Kim says a weird line as if she's now somehow trying to protect the kids from the X-Wings because she doesn't give up their position, saying, "You wouldn't believe me if I told you where they were going," which feels like a weird cop-out. So I think there's a number of things to talk about from this episode. The first of which is Wim's dad. There's something that he knows, I think, about what's going on behind the scenes, and maybe I'm wrong, but just the way that the camera panned to him, recognizing that they're not going to go get any help for these kids because they have to keep this all a secret, and so he's going to have to take this into his own hands. Maybe is he maybe going to be one who takes action towards his kids, or are the parents all going to be looking like losers just sitting on this planet unwilling to go save their kids? I'll tell you right now, if my kid was lost, I wouldn't be listening to some robot about what I can and can't do. I wouldn't sit idly by just hoping that everything would work out. I would actively do something to change the situation, and I'm interested to see if that's going to happen, if Wim's dad is going to step up and be that figure that maybe Wim has needed but has just had absent from his life, that he kind of has seen now in Jod, this one who he so desires to follow because he's a Jedi and aspires to do good things and help people instead of just being a boring analyst. And yes, of course, Disney, as to no surprise, includes something that they feel they need to include in every show, in everything that they do, some kind of nod to this perspective, this message, this agenda. And so I thought this was going to be a bigger deal, though. I thought they were going to make it into a whole thing. The way that many were talking about it, it was really just a throwaway moment, a moment where you see two moms, whereas everyone else just had one parent there. They had to emphasize that KB had two moms. Now, this does lead me to think there's more going on with KB, that she has some kind of life sensors attached to that headset that she's wearing. I wonder if it means that it's like a medical device that's helping her or something like that. I think there's some interesting things that could be thought of there, but overall, it's just, again, they're shooting themselves in the foot, and for people that don't want to see this, this is probably going to be enough reason for them to unplug and no longer watch, because it's Disney being Disney instead of just focusing on Star Wars, because it lent nothing to the story. It was pointless. If you're going to do it, this feels just like virtue signaling. It feels like you just have to do it instead of actually including something that matters, like what Andor did. No one complained about it then, but you're going to get it here thrown in for no reason at all. And then we come to the big reveal of the show that I don't think was that much of a surprise, or at least the reveal of this episode, is the many names of Jod, the distrust that's sown about him, all leading to the fact that he's never really been a Jedi, and even says, "I never said that. You said that. I never claimed to be a Jedi." Kind of this out. He's like, "I just let you believe what you wanted to believe." But it leads us to think, what is he doing? What has he been doing? Clearly, the ways that they got out of the prison were really not Jedi mind trick powers. Like, there was a noise that was on the other side, but it didn't look like he threw anything. So what is going on? There has to be something that he has, whether it's some ability or some maybe like droid mechanic thing, and that's why he doesn't like droids so much, because part of him is mechanical and they couldn't take it away. I'm really not quite sure. We definitely get this idea that there are some that really liked Jod and really preferred him to Brutus, that even when he's in that interaction trying to take the droid SM-33 away, we have this interaction with this other droid worker or whoever it is, and he's just like, I love you, you're the best, you're my favorite captain of all time. So it is interesting to see, is this mutiny really that widespread, and maybe Jod is a better leader than we've kind of seen. I don't know. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. I'm not quite sure what to think about him yet. It doesn't seem like Jod is a dark side user, but is he force sensitive, just not a Jedi? I'm not really sure. Does he just kind of know like parlor tricks and illusions, and that's all he's really got? Is kind of where I'm leaning, because the way that the key floated and the noise that happened, that stuff kind of feels like a little bit more than just intuition, as we saw with the other things. And then we come to the line drop that happened at the beginning of the episode that has got me thinking, and it's this character of the supervisor. It makes me wonder that I really don't think that the supervisor is a humanoid person type thing, or even an alien. I think the supervisor is going to be a droid, an analytical, by the book, here's what we do, and we have to keep everything in line. Even we see that Fern's mom says, well, I'm gonna make an appeal to get an audience, and like, you have to do all these steps. You can't just figure it out. You just can't do what you want. And it makes me wonder, to be this cloaked and this hidden for this long, because it definitely is going back past the Republic time, all the way to the time before the fall of the Empire, even the rise of the Empire, any of that. I think the discipline to stay that hidden would only come from a droid. I think other people would mess up, and so they're just living in this great work system, and they're just really kind of being led by these machines. Or at least that's kind of what I'm anticipating as they pull from like other sci-fi type stuff. And it's these kids that are going to bust out of it and break free from this bondage to this system that makes them have to be a certain way always and never themselves. That's kind of what I think the lesson is going to be from this whole thing, is that these kids are going to learn to be themselves, not just more analysts, not just to be their parents' clones, so to speak, just for the great work or whatever might happen. I don't know. What do you think? Did you enjoy the episode? I did. I still think episode 2 was the strongest out of these 3 episodes, and there were a few boring, slow moments that I think didn't really add much, that felt like filler. This did kind of feel like a setup episode as opposed to something, and I saw some folks talking about how maybe it would be better if these were released in 2 episode chunks, but we know Disney's not going to do that because they need you to be on Disney Plus for the full 8 weeks, or at least 7 weeks, however many it is, because that's the only thing that's keeping all this going. I don't know. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Thanks for being here. Would appreciate you leaving a like on the way out. And if you're new, consider subscribing for more Star Wars content just like this. And if you're looking for the next video to watch, click right here.